times something which seems simple but can quickly turn deadly. If you're out on a boat and something falls into the water, that's when someone on your boat tries to reach in and tries to grab that, only to find themselves in the water. Fortunately, in this kind of setup from the National Safe Boating Council, everyone is safe. But that's not always the case. The National Safe Boating Council says about 76% of boating fatalities were as a result of drowning, and that 87% of drowning victims were not wearing a life jacket. The organization also found that 69% of deaths happened on watercraft where the operator had no boat safety instructions there. So now the memory of a boating safety advocate is being used to try to save more lives out there on the water. All right, Peg Phillips is the executive director of the National Safety Boating Council. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much. A great transition from voting access to boating access. We want to make sure everyone has boating access as well.
All right, glad you caught that. Glad you caught that. You see what we're doing here. All right. So nearly 90% of drowning victims weren't wearing life jackets. Why do you think that number remains so high?
Yeah, so I think there's a perception in the country, or just kind of in the boating culture, that putting a life jacket on is maybe a sign that somebody's a weak swimmer, or someone has a perception that they are a strong swimmer, so they don't think they need a life jacket. Maybe it's hot, maybe they don't think it looks cool, something like that. So what we're really trying to do is create a cultural shift, kind of like what has happened with bicycling, right? So I remember as a kid, nobody wore a bicycle helmet, and now that has become the norm. So if you see somebody riding a bicycle and they have a helmet on, you think, well, that's a real cyclist, right? We want that same perception with a boater. So a real boater has specific gear, just like every outdoor activity and sport. And wearing that life jacket is the most important piece of gear that you can have, and will absolutely give you a chance to save your life if you end up in the water.
Yeah, we understand you guys have a new life jacket loaner station at Lake Allatoona, and the decision to honor Chris Day with this one. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so we honored Captain Chris Day on what would have been his 41st birthday. He passed last year after a courageous battle with cancer, and he was an owner of Towboat US right there on Lake Allatoona, a place that he knew better than most. And he was not only a captain and boat owner, but he just spent countless hours helping boaters in need. Was a very passionate advocate for boating safety. And many times he was the first on the scene in an emergency, and those events just deeply impacted him. He himself put up life jacket loaner stations to honor people who had died on the lake. And working with the National Safe Boating Council and his loving wife, Bree, we designed and built a life jacket loaner station that will stand there at Lake Allatoona as an honor to him, and just remind boaters of that simple act of putting a life jacket on can help save your life.
Yeah. Since the dedication, have you heard much from the community about what you guys are doing?
Oh yeah, I mean, at the dedication, it was very hot this weekend, but at the dedication, we had about 75 people come out from the community, even in that heat, and 3 television stations have picked it up, been on radio. So just yeah, a lot of feedback from the community, and chatter on social media. Everybody's very excited to see this way of honoring Chris.
Yeah. What simple steps can boaters take as far as with their families to make sure that their experience on the water is safer?
Yeah, so the easiest thing, going back to that life jacket, right? That really is the easiest thing that you can do, is wear the life jacket. Another thing we learned from recently hearing about the tragedy in Lake Tahoe is checking that weather. So not only check the weather, but heed that weather warning. Even if it's your only day off, if there's a storm approaching or something in the forecast, especially if you see thunderclouds, hear any lightning, you want to get off the water. Being on the water is just not a place to be in a thunderstorm. Another thing that we want everybody to know, and this is a new law as well, is to attach that engine cutoff switch lanyard, that red lanyard that you'll see on a power boat.
Yeah.
And if a power boater is displaced from the helm for any reason, you hit a wave, you hit a log, you have a medical event, that lanyard will pull away from the switch and the engine will shut off.
All right, Peg,
So,
that's about
very
all the time
important
we
to do
have.
that.
So thanks a lot for joining us, Peg. Really appreciate that insight and getting the word out to be safe on the water. Thank you.